2023, first video of. Welcome back to the channel, yet again, playing with more Daihatsus. So, we'll catch you after the intro, and I'll show you what we're doing in this ring. We're going to put some Daihatsu back in the Daihatsu. Oof. There we have it. Back into it. It's on smaller tyres this time. Right, so there's a 31 inch, 31 1050 R15s. This one's got a groove in it. Because these were the tyres that I had on Percy when it failed the brakes and flipped me off the highway at 110 k's. That groove is from the firewall bracing because my shift supervisor at the time, while I was in hospital, went and dug it out of the farmer's paddock and drove it up the road so I could pick it up easily with a car trailer once I got out of hospital. For I was in there for a couple of days. Anywho, these are legitimately the first ever mud tyres and rims I ever bought. So the date code is 06. So they're fucking old. I bought them brand new from Kmart Tyre and Auto, and no doubt paid way too much for them, but I was young and dumb. And the rims I got from Campbelltown F100 wreckers way back in the day. They were brand new when I got them. Anyway, so I'm fucking on a tangent here. We haven't gotten any better in the next year. So the tail shaft in the rear is close to binding with the amount of lift that's in it. So I have to lower it, but I couldn't lower it on 35s because there wasn't enough clearance in the rear. So my dad had my 31s for the Maroon Rocky I put the motor in so he could get it registered. So last weekend I picked them up and then threw them on it. Took it for a blat, and the ratio is way better. 35s it felt very sluggish. And it felt like the box was slipping a little bit, which is strange because it's only got 80,000 Ks on it. It was a little low on auto transfluid. It needs a pan gasket, as you can see by the puddle that's there. Luckily the concrete's sealed out here, so the oil doesn't soak in. Makes it easy. Needs a pan gasket, and I'm having trouble finding one of them at the moment. So I was a little bit low on oil, and I sat down for like a day while I was at work on my first day back and calced out the ratio. So on 35s it was 37.5% over this tyre size it needs. So F10s have the lowest diff ratio out of all the Daihatsus other than Daihatsu Feroza front, or Daihatsu and Feroza in general. So the only way I can get lower ratios in this to compensate for bigger tyres, and it wouldn't even match 35s anyway, the best it would be for 33s, is I possibly, maybe, might be able to gut the gear set out of a pair of front diffs and use them in this, but nobody's ever done that before. I will literally be the first person to do it. So it's a big question mark whether it's going to work. So with the ratios and that, and I'll go through it in a minute, it's almost perfect on 31s. So it'll be 12.5% out on 33s. So I might just cope with 33s and the stock ratios. 35s, well, once I lower it, it won't fit 35s anyway. So, yeah. So I've lowered the back a little bit. I don't know if you can I, if I twist the phone to the tyres, does that sort of make sense? Like that, maybe? Anyway, the back's lower. So what I have done, nothing to the spring mount, the springs themselves. What I've done here is I've actually drilled and moved that point up 35 millimeters. So like it used to be down here. So one that gets a bit of a rock anchor. It's also nosed the pinion up a little bit, which I needed. since the diff flip. It was 0, but the back of the gearbox was 0. So I've nosed that up. It's nosed it up 3 degrees, which will help. Yes, it could potentially give me driveline vibrations because the gearbox flange is 0. Now the diff flange is 3 degrees positive, but it'll be fine. I've driven worse. Sarge is fucking atrocious and it doesn't vibrate, so that's fine. So the back is now lower than the front, so I need to lower the front. So I don't know if I explained it in one of the videos. The front springs in this are front Suzuki Sierra springs, 2-inch lift ones, EFS, which fit pretty good, but the shackle angle's pretty vertical. So they're a little stiff. The 1.3 Zook motor's heavier than the entire front end of this fucking car. So the plan is I'm going to lighten the pack up to hopefully lower it a little bit, give me a bit better shackle angle. What I'm planning, I want to lighten the pack's front and rear. I want to pull about 1 inch out of the rear and 2 out of the front. That'll give me about 15 degree shackle angle, which is making a nice comfortable ride. So that'll equal 2-inch lift, which is what I wanted in the first place. So I can still fit 33s. It'll give me a little bit more clearance for the rear universal joint. And a softer ride, because the rear shackles are pretty well vertical too. Yeah. So they're the Lovell's scat springs, but I think they're made for like an F50 or something. They're very sprung. So I'm going to gut the packs, front and rear. We'll see how we go with time, because this is Tuesday after work. And my sprinkler system's about to start, but we'll get to that. I think I want to gut it down to 2 leaves, the main leaf and the helper leaf. And that's it. And then the rear will get the anti-inversion plate put back under it, and that's it. That's what I'm thinking I'm going to go with. So we're going to try it with the front first. I'll get a floor to guard lip measurement, and then I'll pull some leaves out of it and hope. So I'm going to open the shed. I'm going to back Sarge out. No, I won't back Sarge out because the sprinklers are going to wet it, so I'll leave Sarge in there. Open the shed, get this thing on jack stands, and we will start gutting a pack. Yeah, that was a fucking long intro. Anyway, we're doing springs. Yep. Okay. There's a 7/8. Yeah, it's like I only just put them in. Not that long ago. Which leaves do I want? I'm going to have to do that as well. Well, we'll get the spring plate off first. So you can see there's 4 springs in this pack, so I want to just have that spring and that spring. Or to make it easy, I might do that spring and this spring because it's got that, and then I won't have to undo the bolts. I don't know yet. I haven't worked that far ahead. I should have got my soft hammer. This is the easy side, the other side's a fucking pain in the ass. I don't know, you might have fucking seen me struggling with it, but what they done... Oops. Give me you bastard. Yes. What they did on this side, it goes over the cast part of the axle tube there. Instead of using, you know, 2 different size U-bolts, one to go around here and one to go around there, they just use 2 of these, and you've got to like poke it around there, which flares it out, and then you've got to like squash it in with the G-clamp to get it into the shackle bolt plate, which is fucking annoying, but I don't know. I've always thought about plug welding up the holes in the bottom of the plate and then running a bigger shackle, something like off a 75 series or whatever, but never got around to it, so I complain about it all the time and never fix it. How sketchy do I want to get? Do I want to go to work tomorrow? Maybe I'll just hurt myself and not go in. We'll see. Please undo. Holy. Okay. Fuck. I fucking knew it was going to spin, that cunt. Oh, I don't want to have to pull the spring out just to do a fucking experiment. I'm going to have to pull the spring out, aren't I? Yeah, they centre popped it, so I wouldn't come here and fucking do dodgy shit. What do they centre pop it too soft? Hit it with a thread file and hope it for the best. Come on, just let me look at all the way around it. Alright, it's only centre popped in one spot. Okay, well I can thread file that out. I'm going to thread file to file that. Oh, this is turning into a way bigger job than I fucking wanted it to be. Okay, I'll be back. Alright, we got it sorted-ish. It's sort of slapped together. The thread on the centre pin bolt is not long enough, and the thread on the ear bolts are not long enough, so I've got these funny little leftover parts from when I was an apprentice. Made them ages ago. I had to make like 4 of them, and they said, oh, it's going to be an on job, so make more, and I did, and they've been sitting in my toolbox ever since. So they're just adding space. Yep, we'll go with that. So she looks pretty rowdy, but hey, it's only got to hold that together, and these are roughly in line. I just sort of pushed them back in line. So I'm thinking now I might take the jack stands out and see what it does. Maybe it only needs one leaf out. Don't know. Yeah, don't know. This is just a big question mark. How does that work? What's the spring rate like now? That's softer-ish. They can't be that stiff. They can't be. Well, I guess I'll climb under there and we'll pull the other helper leaf and we'll just turn it into a 1-leaf pack and we'll see what it fucking does. I don't know. It's not making much sense. I'm gonna pick you up off the fucking table here. So it's exactly the fucking same. Here's the driver's side shackle angle. It's come down a little bit, like fucking none. Like there's a little bit more shackle angle on this side. But it's nothing. I'm pondering whether I pull the last helper leaf out of that or if I do the same to this pack, because the diff could be acting maybe as a bit of a sway bar and sharing some load over to the other spring. I'll have to go and find more packers to do that for that side. So, but hey, it's an experiment, so let's just do it. Right, pull leaves out of the other side. Fuck, I've got to thread file that bolt again. Can't. It's not making much sense. I'm gonna pick you up off the fucking table here. So it's exactly the fucking same. Here's the driver's side shackle angle. It's come down a little bit, like fucking none. Like there's a little bit more shackle angle on this side. But it's nothing. I'm pondering whether I pull the last helper leaf out of that or if I do the same to this pack, because the diff could be acting maybe as a bit of a sway bar and sharing some load over to the other spring. I'll have to go and find more packers to do that for that side. So, but hey, it's an experiment, so let's just do it. Right, pull leaves out of the other side. Okay, let's try this again. Please get better. it isn't. The fuck? Okay. I've got a bit more shackle angle. Really about level of the rear now, but I wanted it lower so I could match it the rear to it. I wanted to go like as a one leg pack, run it as a parabolic that isn't a parabolic. That'd be rowdy. Nah, I couldn't do that. Could I? Could I? Well, I've got packers built, so we're gonna try it. Yeah. Yep. Right, let's jack it back up again. What sort of spring rate have we got now, though? Okay. Righto. Okay. Okay, let's try this now. One spring to rule them all. Oh, baby. Okay, they come down a fair bit. Yep. Yep. Oh, she bottoms out royal easy. Pretty sure that's bottoming. Oh, that's sump. That's a sump hitting the diff. So that's basically back to stock height. Okay. Oh. It's got that, remember like in the 80s to me, done that Wild Willies? It's got that sort of vibe going about it. Yeah. I might leave it like that for a bit, try and bed that fucking spring in. Let it do its thing, and then we'll put a helper back in it. But yeah, it's much lower. I won't be able to drop it that much in the back. Well, I can. I've already, I've had a stock height scat with bloody these tyres on it. Yeah, it's super sketchy the way I did it, but hey, that's all right. We're only experimenting here. It's not going down the road, probably. Yeah. Wow, that's very low. All right. Another day, another car. It's not a Daihatsu this time. I'm at my brother's house. You can hear his little dog whining because she wants attention. Anyway, that's Abby dog. You'll see her running in and out. I'm here because he's bought a new car and he needs a bit of a hand with it. Now, we've already done a little bit to it to get it running. What it is a 1974 Jensen Healey. So, weird. Sort of got that, like, Aston Martin 240Z-ish sort of vibe. Calm down. Look at this guy beating up his rabbit. Yeah. So, it is a whole car. There's all the bits for it everywhere. He's tidying up the interior because it's been parked for like 20 odd years, so it's got a little bit mousy. Leaves the seats out of it and that, so it's not too bad. Like, the leather's still pretty good. They just need a good clean up. Reason why, oh, there's the carpet. Carpet looks pretty good. Dash pads over there somewhere getting cleaned. Reason why I got it is not because of the car. It is pretty cool looking. But mainly what's in it. So, I don't know about you, but the Brits never put a rotor in anything. So what we have here is a Series 4.5 13B and a Series 5 5-speed manual, coupled with a Series 1, 2 13B twin point twin coil distributor. So, the reason why I'm here is having issues getting it running. He went through the carb a little bit. I think there's still some block jets. It had the wrong plugs in it. It had motorbike plugs in it. Yep. It was misfiring really bad and only running on one of the rotors. So there's a bunch of horrible wiring in this thing. We've got the dashboard. Birds are dropping branches on me. Got the dashboard out of it and I'm going through that. I'll show you the absolute mess over there in a minute. Yeah, so it was running only on one rotor, and then we got it running on both rotors, but it was only running on the trail plugs, because I don't know if you know, the rotaries run 2 plugs. You've got a trail plug and a lead plug. So that's them there. You got the trail plug at the top, lead plug at the bottom. What one of the issues was is a bunch of gunk under the cap and on the rotor button, but this purple wire here coming off that positive side of the ballast resistor for coil 1 went down to this box here, which is a 1-wire power regulator for the alternator. So it was pulling power away from the coil, and because it had bad plugs in it, had weak spark, it wouldn't fire the lead plugs. So new plugs in it, got rid of that. I'll have to hook that into a proper alternator charged wire and get that working, because it wasn't really charging. Carb needs going through as well, but it does run. The thermo fan also burnt out. It turned on once and it's dead, so that's fine. Oh, the brakes don't work either. The previous owner got it with locked up brakes, so he decided to just cut all of the lines, hard and soft, in the front. So really bad. I'll take you around and show you this bird's nest on this other side. It's fucking horrible. So what have we got here? Look at this. Obviously I don't know, it's probably, the rotor's probably been put in the fucking 70s, maybe, or 80s. Well, it's an 80 model engine, so probably 80s. This was all just like tyre wired up to there. The dash pad comes out to like here, so you can't really see any of it. Oh, hey Abby dog. So yeah, I'm going through this mess. Like, there's just wires that are bridged together. These went into the door pocket doing nothing, and they're live, and we're just hanging down in there, so that's good. No joiners on anything. That one's live and it's just hanging under the dash. Yeah, and then I think this is all radio wiring. That's just been twist tied together and taped with masking tape. This big bundle here, oh no, that big bundle there, which has a live wire that's got an open splice in it, was cello taped to that, like that. Yeah, so we'll fix that. Surprisingly, everything worked. All the lights, reverse light. There's no interior light. The radio worked but didn't have a face, so my brother ripped that out. He's going to turn it into like a fucking street registered track car, basically, because that's what he does with everything. So yeah, I'm going through the harness. I think there's speaker wire. That's speaker wires there. Calm down, Abby. She's licking the shit out of me. And then I'm thinking this is probably a speaker wire, maybe as well, because it did have speakers in the door by the looks of it. But it had an aftermarket head unit, so the speakers in the door had their own wiring, so we've ripped all that out. Back to the original harness, and then I'll have to separate all that stuff off, fix it. There's also a whole ass rat's nest in here, and then all of this mess here. Like, there's butt connectors going into that, and we've got female spades going into a connector there. Like, they just loop back on themselves. So what do they actually do? Like, you got an indicator, a headlight, and a horn here. So like, why, what's this? What does this do? That relay is hooked to the coils to give it power whilst cranking, and these two relays haven't done anything yet. Yeah, that's just for the thermofan relay, and I've checked I do have power there. It's just a mess. Like, the wiring harness is horrible in this thing. I kind of want to just rip the entire harness out and just start again, but my brother doesn't really want this to take forever, so we'll cut the shit out of it, patch it, shorten it, call it good. The plan is I'm just going to make a engine harness sub-assembly and a cab harness, and then I'm just going to have connectors in between those two. That shouldn't take massively long. Today is Friday, so I have 2 days to do this. And keep it running, because he's got to be able to move it around. So it is currently running, so I could probably hook it up and give you a couple of breps. Oh, fucking bonnet low on this thing, I tell you. We give it a couple of fucking burps. Hey, stick that there. Alright, now being a carbide rotary, you've got to pump the fuck out of it. And starting. It's got like 3 mufflers in there, so they're all getting cut out. And it's only got like a 2-inch system on it, which what rotary has anything less than a 3-inch on it? Apparently this one, the only one I've seen. But it's got like a 48mm IDA Weber on it. Let's see if it's... with no choke, so it's really warm-blooded. Yeah, starts, since I've fucked with it, it starts really easy, so that's good. I'll tear into this harness to make it better. Better, yeah. We'll go with better. Rightio, day 2 on the Jensen. We've got it running better. I'll see if I can get it to fucking start just off the key. Perfect. Nice. It actually drives, which is good. Clutch works and everything. I'm tearing into the harness. This thing is a fucking bird's nest. Here's the ignition key. There's actually 6 wires in there, but only 3 used, and none of them had... some of them had bullet connectors, so I've just gone with bullet connectors again. There's melted wires everywhere. This termination was fucked, so I've redone that. It's a power wire direct from the fuse box into the harness to the gauge cluster. Look at that, that was just open. That had cello tape over it. I've deleted all of that wiring there because it's not going to have a radio, so we don't need a radio. Or it had the option of courtesy lights, which were mounted in the door, like there. And there was a door switch in here. The door switch was live, and it didn't have a switch in it, so there was wires dangling, which is why half the wiring's burnt out in this thing. So it had courtesy lights for both sides, and door switches, which run 12 volt unfused direct from a battery bank. Strange. There was also a wire running down here, going through that hole for the handbrake light, but this doesn't have a handbrake light, and it also had seatbelt warning lights, like to say that the seatbelts were clicked in, because there was a GT version of this, so I'm guessing all that come in the GT. So this didn't have any of that shit, so all of that whole harness got deleted. So now that just goes over to the tail light harness. I've rewrapped all that. That's a bunch of connectors for the tail light harness. That's how it was set up, so I've just rewrapped that, and I'll just tape that back to there. That's a dash light. What's left of one? What have we got down here? That's a power for the reverse light. Yep. And there's another dash light that needs a ground, so I'll pull a ground up off of that ground bolt and hook that up. And then I've got to get into the engine bay. This was 2 just power wires from the engine bay fuse box run into the harness and cut off. Like there, doing nothing, so I'll just chase them back. I'll probably put them back in the harness and just tie them back, so we have, if we want to add something in the future, we can, because it's accessory switched power. So I'm just slowly working through it, slowly. This thing is a whole ass mess, but we'll get there. We'll get it. What's going on there? Right, so that the wiper motor, this plug is the plug on the harness that you can't remove because it's powered by the engine bay harness. There's your 2 powers and grounds. So there's a lot of stuff in here that's like built in the car and non-removable, we're finding out. I wanted to pull the entire, just the whole harness out of it, but to get it out I'd have to cut it basically. There's no joint isn't anything at all. It's fucking weird. Like the tail light harness, that massive joint is there. That doesn't even join the entire tail light harness. So there's still wires in here that don't have a joiner that goes straight to the tail light harness. So like, how do you pull the wiring harness out of this car without cutting it? It's a very weird setup. Also struggling with British Whitworth sizings for half of the car, and then the motor and gearbox is metric, is super fucking annoying. But we'll get there. These are the seats out of it anyway. I've got them in it, so it's a bit comfortable to sit in. But yeah, I've got most of that side of the easy side of the harness handled. I've got the ignition side and a couple of traces handled. I might sort out this mess for the combination switches because they're bad, and yeah, so we'll keep going at this and see how we do, because surprisingly everything bar one indicator worked on this thing, and I found out the reason why the indicator didn't work because the wires ripped out because it was too short and touched the tyre. So I'll fix that too. But runs like a top, surprisingly. I've no idea how or why, but whatever, it works. My brother's pretty pumped up. He just wants to get this on the road and drive it, so we don't want to turn this wiring harness debacle into like a fucking engine out restoration. So it's going to be patch it, replace the burnt wires. Most of the wires are burnt because they've just left live wires in the harness dangling, touching the body, and most of those live wires are unfused. None of this makes sense, but whatever. It's an old British car. What is it, 74? So I guess they didn't give a fuck back then. But she's coming along. Our mate Benny Millions, come over. He's a panel beater spray painter, and had a look at the damage on that quarter where the paint's fallen off. It's definitely out of repair. He said he can blow that in and blend it because Adam doesn't want to paint the whole car, and he buffed a guard and a part of the bonnet to see what the paint had come up like, and it shined up pretty good. It's acrylic, so it's got some crow's feeding in it and some humidity spots in it, but Adam it's just going to be a driver basically, so my brother don't really give a fuck. That's all good. I'll keep cracking on with this and see if I can maybe not set the car on fire, because I don't know how it hasn't not set itself on fire yet. Well, it's quite a few days on from that last segment of video. Was I doing springs on the F10? I think I was. Anyway, I've been doing a bit. Back out here. There's a little something over there I can't show you yet, right? But we've had a bit of development. So the 10's out the front here, out here with like the street cars and that, living up life. It's only been out here a couple of days. I had to do that because I was going to pick something up today, and it's Monday. I took a half day off to come get this. Now it's not mine, it's my dad's. But he got jealous of me and my brother having Daihatsu utes, and he didn't have one, so he wanted one. So bam, there it is. Yeah, it's a bit rough. You should have seen my brother's ute when we first got it. It was fucking pretty rough too, I can tell you. Right, so no radiator, the head's off it. We don't know why the head's off it, but the cab is solid. When I say solid, I mean fucking solid. I had a bit of a play at the front here with the shine juice. I'm going to bring back a bit of that paint, and I think she's going to come around pretty good. Factory Daihatsu bar on it still. That hoop's been added on. We'll cut that off and see if I can pull them wings out a bit. That's if my dad still wants it, and they're not staying. But the good thing is I now have a spare for my set of those other ones with the 33s on it, which is good. So yeah, cab chassis. It is a very early 1980, super early. It's like first month 80. So 2.5 4-speed, and you can tell it's really early because I have to untangle this. Come here. These are non-retractable over-the-shoulder seat belts, which is mounted on backwards. Super annoying. Anyway, they look like that. They were like really early, and only in the base models. So it is still missing a few bits. We're missing the key. This door's pretty banged up. The lip's pulled out on it. see there. And probably panel that beat that in. The whole car needs a good fucking clean. Roof's pretty hammered. All these farm utes are though, but it's really solid. And then it's got the matching dent that my brother's has got in here, but on the opposite side. My brother's is on the passenger side. I was laughing and joking because Adam's ute's a white truck with a yellow door on the driver's side, and I've got a replacement driver's side door that's white. I'm like, well, Dad, you can be, you know, the brother of Adam's truck if you want, but I can fix that. Missing the seats, missing the battery lid cover. We do have the horn. The steering wheel's pretty good, but if you have a look at the odometer there, 47,000. And by the looks of what's left of the pedal rubbers, that's the brake pedal, I'm going to go ahead and say 47,000 is right. So now comes the question, 47,000 Ks on a 2.5 litre diesel, why's the head off it? So the head's there, all the valves are out of it. The rocker assemblies in the engine bay, it looks good. I don't know, we're missing the rear tail shaft and the whole handbrake assembly. But Dad's plans are, his plans for me to do, is what we've done to my brother's ute. So just clean it up, get it running. He likes patina now, so after seeing the fair lane of my brother's ute. So that's what we done with that originally. We just got it running. And I regoed it and we drove it. So that's what he wants to do with this. But one caveat is, if I can't put the 2.5 back together, in this trailer, I have a Scat 2.8, two of them, both need rebuilding, and a Scat 5-speed, as well as a Rocky 5-speed. So if I can't get the 2.5 going, he wants me to build a 2.8, preferably his original one that was out of his car that I rolled, that the motor then went into my brother's car and then he blew up. And his original gearbox in that. Fuck. But that's alright. I've got the cranking rods and everything out of the spare parts block. I've been meaning to get these stripped, inspected, ready for reassembly. I was thinking about re-sleeving them. I probably won't. I might just hone them and throw a set of rings at them because I pulled the pans off and the cross-hatching of the bore is pretty good. The cross-hatching of the bore on that one doesn't exist. So you normally wipe them out in diesels with a lot of idling. And the story is these come off a pretty big farm. We don't know too much information about them. There was this and an F10. We picked the ute because I've already got an F10 and I don't need another one. Apparently there was a pile of them. These were the best two out of the lot, and they were getting sold because unfortunately the previous owners died and his family's clearing the farm out. So we don't know why the head's off it, unfortunately. There is a bunch of parts missing as well. I could probably get a hold of the guy I bought it off and go out there and maybe get the bits, because I don't know. But I do have lines on a parts car that may or may not be a 2.8 diesel ute with a very rusty cab, so maybe I'll just cab swap it. We'll see. My brother's going to look at that coming up tomorrow, I think he said he was, because he's on his days off. I don't know, he's got a new baby, so probably not tomorrow. Whatever, I'll probably have to go and look at it myself. But if that turns out to be an actual scat ute, save me so much work. If I can get that 2.8 running and then just put this cab on the other chassis, and he'll have what he wants. 2.8 5-speed. I'll still have to put a disc brake front. I'm out of disc brake fronts, but there's a couple of wrecking yards with Rockies, and you can run Rocky stuff on a Scat, because that's what... Oh, it's not there anymore. It's out the front. That's what I put on the F10. It's Rocky stuff. So you use the spindle out, or Rocky stuff, and it bolts on. Yeah. So yeah, you just separate it from there, and then you just put the backing plate off, put the brake disc mount on, and then you use the whole hub and everything off the Rocky, and you just go straight on like butter. So there's a couple of wrecking yards, and all. Should I say it in a video? I don't want all my parts getting ratted. I'll say it. You fellas are good. Northern Road Auto Wreckers have got 2 Daihatsu Rockies in there currently. And I already need to go there because I need the centre sunroof part for my dad's Rocky, because when it was my brother's Rocky, he drilled a hole in the roof, put a spotlight in it, and then gave up on the project. So my dad ended up with it. He doesn't like the hole in the roof, so I've got to go there anyway. So I can probably get the disc brake set up out of that. Or there's a guy on the Daihatsu Facebook page that has a full set of Rocky diffs and a gearbox that he just wants to get rid of in the North Shore. So I could potentially go that route too. And if I wanted to get real fancy, I could do what my mate in the Central Coast done and put the Rocky diffs under the scat. No, not doing that. Fuck it. Anyway, so the next little bit, it's like fucking 7 o'clock. I've had a big day for a Monday. So maybe tomorrow we might hit this with a bit of gritted hand soap and scrub it and see how yellow it comes up, because I'm fucking dying to see how fucking yellow it is under here. You can just see from me touching it. Oh, it's going to shine up so good. I knocked a bit of oxidisation off there with a bit of Chemtech degreaser. I tried to cheat it and rub a bit of fucking tyre shine on it. It didn't work. But you can see there's a pretty big change from that to that. It's a bit of a shame that Daihatsu is gone. It feels like... So these are where the stickers are painted on, and I'm assuming by the feels of it this was painted on. It's a bit weird with that crazy down there. So we used to have a Daihatsu sticker we could put on there, but my dad wasted it. So I could, if I was really steady-handed, which I'm not, I could float paint back in there. Mad fat airbrush stuff. Ooh, look at that fucking line work. Oh, yeah, that's a H, not an N. You get the deal. I could paint it back in, but I probably won't. Anyway, next part of the vid will be scrubbing that. Yep. Anyway, I put the springs back together on the front of the F10. Now that it's sat for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 weeks, probably. What is it? It's like the middle of February now. Yeah, 3 weeks. And look at the angle now. Perfect. So what I did, put the spring packs back together. I've got this, I pulled the second leaf out from the main leaf, so that's gone. I've run the helper leaf to keep them in a line, and then the bottom anti-inversion plate. I only run that one because the centre pin in the U-bolt was too short, and centre pin in the spring was too short, and my U-bolts didn't have enough thread. So if I want to deal with it later, I can, but it's turned it pretty soft, which is pretty good, and it's leveled it out, so that's really, really good, which is what I wanted, because she was nose up. But I don't know, it just suits being out here on the fucking front lot, ready to go down the shops and get myself an ice cream in a little bit. As you can see, the fucking birds love it. That's actually from underneath the fucking carport out the back. Little bastard sitting here and shit all through it, which is fucking infuriating. Oh, and another lovely thing I found. The fucking passenger side window on the patrol's broken. So, I don't know when that happened. My housemate had paid someone to come over and mow the lawn, and then all of a sudden, the passenger side window was busted. So I'm assuming he's kicked a rock up with a whip. Yet more work to do that I fucking don't want to do. Anyway, we'll catch us in a little while. Hopefully when it's sunnier. Maybe tomorrow, if I'm not tired. Scrubbing that old fucking wore out some bitch. Alright, let's have a bit of a teaching moment. You see me dig that out of the bottom of the windscreen. This is mastic. It's a seam sealer. As you can see, it's very brittle now. So, Daihatsu use this on all of the seams in the Daihatsus. And as you can see, it goes hard and breaks off. Pop you up off the garbage bin here and take you for a walk. So it is everywhere. And up here, you can see with the sun, probably not, but I can just pull that off. And now you have an unpainted raw seam that's just spot welded so water can get in there. It's the same as up in here. Oh, me drain hole's blocked, but all along there, same stuff, chips off. The biggest rust killer with these is the mastic dries out and water gets in where it can't get back out, and then they die. So it's really important to do the bottom of the windscreen. So when I got my brother's yet, we dug all that out, and then we used a Sikaflex product in there. So I'll have to get inner all up and around in here under the hinges, and we'll have to do it all down the side of the pillar. I've done it all in Sarge and cap of the roof as well. Try and keep the water out of the bad spots. This looks like some form of glue. That's going to be a pain to get off. It is, it's fucking super glue. I'll have to razor blade that. It's coming up way better with that lichen. I'll give it another rinse and then I'll hand wash it again. And I think it'll be good enough for Dad. Dad was a detailer for 20 years, 25 years, and he can swing a fixed speed rotational buff like fucking no other. So you best believe this thing be shining like a new penny. I remember his F50. I'll see if I can drop some photos in of it, because this will be his fourth scat. He had an F20 soft top, then he went to a hard top F50, then Percy the F60, which is technically a deluxe F20 that we put a motor in, and now this 80 F55. They were all yellow, but I remember especially in his F50, because the insides of these are all painted, he used to get in the cab, and like the wagons, like the body comes back to here, and it's all steel. He used to get in the cab and hand polish the inside of this thing. That's part of the reason probably why it got stolen off the driveway, because it looked fucking really, really good. And he used it as his detailing car, towing the detailing trailer, so it always looked nice, had little sun raises on it, the interior was fucking immaculate, and yeah, he literally hand polished the inside of the car, which like fucking sounds insane to me because there's so much metal in there. But that's just what he did. So I would not be fucking surprised if he does the same thing to this. But he pretty much fell in love with it because all of his Daihatsus have been yellow. This one's yellow. Funny thing is he actually tried to buy this one not that long ago. We've gone back through some records. Oh, what's going on over there? Oh, nothing. Can't see anything. Whatever. Fire truck, I'm guessing. But yeah, he tried to buy this one a while ago off the owner before he died. And we ended up with it anyway, which is sad, but still pretty funny. Yeah, I'll give this a rinse off, and we'll give it another hand wash. I was on the phone to him, he's like, don't fucking hand wash it, just degrease it and gurney it. I'm like, Dad, it's got lichen on it. He's like, yeah, the fucking gurney will get it off it, it'll be fine. But like you can see the bits I missed where it's still chalky. So give it a rinse to get the lumps off, hand wash again, rinse again, and we'll see its true colours. I might even have a bit of wax up the back there to do a bit of a test patch so we can see what it's going to look like. He's not, well, all of us, me, him and my brother, all don't like shiny rust, so it's not going to get clear coated because rust is supposed to be fucking rust. So he'll probably honestly just keep polishing this thing. The paint will be shiny and the rust will be rusty, which is what he wanted. He wants to just put it together and drop it. That's fine. We've got lines on a parts car. I've got to go and have a look at that. On the weekend, today is Tuesday. So hopefully this weekend I'll get a bit of time. I'll go up to Sydney and check that parts car out. Because this needs seats and he wants retractable seat belts. I have retractable seat belts, but he's like, well, if we're buying a parts car, it'll have retractable seat belts. We'll just fucking pull everything out of that. He also wants a 5-speed. Potentially that parts car might have a 5-speed because it's a plastic grille, either F25 or F65. We don't know if it's petrol or diesel. It's been for sale for a while. We've all been thinking about it, but haven't really had a need for a parts car. I've got a need for parts, but I don't need an entire vehicle. But now, potentially we do. And then the chassis rail that's in it, that'll no doubt go to another tough truck build. I think I've given given / sold 2 chassis to tough truck builds, because Scat chassis, they're 650 centre to centre, they're dead straight the whole way along, and the only upset they have is that dip there, which is the same front to back. In a wagon, they're the same front to back. In the ute, obviously the back section's longer. So yeah, and they're really thick wall, like people using Zook chassis, but you have to box them and plate them and carry on. But like this is like fucking 3-4 mil wall, so you basically can weld your tube straight to that without fish plating it. So yeah, I can get that parts carrier and I can have it cannibalised in no time. Anywho, I'm going to get back to washing this. You'll probably see when I'm rubbing a bit of polish on it. Well, you can obviously see the shiny spot I just made there. And it's pretty shiny. I don't think this thing has ever been buffed or polished. There's still heaps of factory orange peel in the paint. That'll get that out. There's a little mark there that'll also come out. But yeah, this isn't even really, it's a paint rejuvenation stuff. It doesn't have any cutting compound in it, so it's pretty shit, but it does have a bit of wax in it, so she shines. You've got to rub the fuck out of it though. Oh, fuck that. Oh, fucking buffing rag off. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this thing's going to shine like a new penny, I tell you. Heaps of paint on it too. So that'll be happy. Be able to give it a really heavy buff. Just, see that? See the shiny bit there? Hello. And then there's on the tip of the bonnet. No, not tip. Sort of the centre of the bonnet. Now, to tackle this mess. Yeah, I found a key that fits too. Fits the doors as well, but you can only put it into that first line there, and then it works. So it's close, but not exactly right. So I don't think it needs that end notch, and I think it needs these notches moving 1 notch back. But luckily I can pull that ignition barrel and get a key actually cut to that barrel so it suits the door locks. The bonus is it also suits the fuel flap, which is a big thing. Because instead of like just doing it easy like Toyota and just making it so it's a generic fucking key that fits the fuel flap, no, it's keyed to the fucking ignition barrel. So as you can see, it only goes into that, like, forget that first line that's hanging out there, I'll just rub him off. So it goes into, yeah, there, and it works. So, see, too far, doesn't do anything. Back him off a bit. Come on, come here, come here. There we go, back him off a bit. And she's good. Now, knowing that, he'd probably just fucking run that. But, nothing. Out to that line. And you can actually feel the tumbler. So all the way in, pull it 1 tumbler back, clunk, bam, lock. Now, as rough as my dad is, he would literally run that as his key and call it a day. But that's Sarge's factory key, so I don't want to go give him that. Yeah, for now we'll leave it in the ignition barrel. I did just grab a jump pack and throw it in there. All the electrics work. Like, the blinker cam's fucked. But I can get the indicators to all light up. The headlight lights up. The lights in the back of the gauges light up. The interior light works. I cranked it. It rolled over. Blower motor will work, but it's unplugged for some reason. Oh, they tried to put a radio in it. So the thing with the Daihatsu is to get the AM radio in, you've got to pull the heater box out because the back radio bolt is the top heater box mount as well. So they would have put the speaker in and then tried to put their radio in there. They've actually drilled the holes out. But I'll put a blanking plate in there, the factory blanking plate, and that'll get rid of that. And then worked out that, like, it's super difficult to do anything. Is my little torch charged? Yes, it is. Give me a minute. So there ain't much room in there. So it's a Daihatsu only AM radio that fits. So they've gone to this funny mount thing and mounted it there. It's now all gone. So that'll just have to listen to the sweet, sweet sound of the potentially DL 2.8 barking, because no radio. The last two of his trucks, he actually mounted a radio, just a CD player, underneath the glove box. Problem with that is my mum used to bash her knees getting in and out of it on the radio, so we might look at a more elegant remedy for that if he wants to run a radio. He hasn't even put a radio in his Rocky, and he's like, oh, we'll have to pull the heater box out and put a radio in it. Well, I built him the Rocky, and I bought him a brand new radio fascia plate because the factory one was cracked, and it's got the knockout plate you got to punch out to put the radio in. He never done it, never put a radio in, so I don't know why he's worrying about a radio in this. And the AM only, so like, who fucking cares? Anyway, I'm going to try and catalogue what this all is, and punch the floor bungs out and maybe lift that battery out. I've got a feeling that cunt is going to be really difficult to get out. It's missing the fucking battery strap too. Like the factory battery strap goes down on an angle through these holes, and it actually captures the corner of the battery through here and down. So yeah, they're all missing. This plug here, factory, they had a battery water level monitor, so a little flow valve that you screwed the cap out of the battery, and then it'd turn your battery light on and off to tell you that your battery's low on water. Problem with that is that needs positive. If it doesn't see positive, it doesn't send exciter circuit to the alternator, and the alternator doesn't charge. So a lot of charging issues with scats is that, and the quick fix, because the battery light stays on all the time. The quick fix was to just pull the battery light out. But that battery light is the exciter bulb for the alternator. So, yeah, it's a whole ass thing. I've noticed a bit more. I'll take you for a wander on the other side here. She's not as straight as we thought, alright? Not as straight as we thought. So, I told you about the big wolf in here. Yep, can you see that? Sorta? Not really? I found a bigger one. So I thought the door just wasn't shutting. Yeah, it's fucking shutting alright. Pull the body line up. Ka-chow. It's had a hit. Had a hit in the roof gutter. Let's push the whole roof gutter in. Oh, I just locked that fucking door. Where's the key? Alright, I'll pull this piping off, which I'll have to replace anyway. Can we sort of see it? Here, see it's ripple. You can't. What? Give me a minute. I'll get my flash cube out. Mount you back to the camera. Any minute now. Jesus, this is good viewing. Ka-chow. There you go. See the ripple there? Let's actually push this whole door jam in. Let's roll this pillar in here and push the jam in the whole way along. It's not too bad here, but yeah, I'll just push in that corner with the porta power down to the floor, probably to the corner of the battery tray, and that should come out really easy. And basically, you just push it out until the door rubber touches. So you can see that, like, it's still out perfect here, flat. It's just rolled the corner in here. That's nothing major. We had a similar issue with Adam's truck. We got through it. Yeah, and that's not the original guard. I don't know if I said that before. It's off an F20, F10 or F20, because it's got the bonnet strap. Actually, it's definitely off an F10, because F20s didn't have. Oh no, they did have bonnet straps. I'm talking out my ass now. Whatever. All right, I think that'll do it. Look at that. You can see where the water's trying to bead off where I rubbed a bit of wax on it, so that's good. Just got all the interior cleaned out, most of it anyway. I'll have to degrease it. It's getting a bit late. Let's see if I can turn my light on here. Yep, a wee bit late. I got all the mud out of the bottom of it. Most of the hanging hood lining off it. I'll come back in here with a vac and I'll vac it up once it's all dry. I'll leave it with the fresh air vent open and windows open, and we'll let it fucking sit. But it's going on pretty good, really good. I'm quite happy about with it. I did notice one thing. I was wondering where the handle for the fresh air vent went. That one. They put it on as the door handle and just bent the fuck out of it to make it work. Because they're actually supposed to be these ones, soft, semi-soft rubber. Yeah, you can see the shape. Sort of got a bit of a curve there. You can fit your hand in there pretty easy. So I've got another side door handle. Anyway, they're just the little things you find. The original vinyl floor was in it. It's stuck to what's left of the sound deadener. Big chunk stuck there. That's a whole lot of roof hood lining, but it's coming along pretty good. I'm quite happy with it. Anyway, I'm going to shut it down tonight because it's getting fucking dark and I'm hungry and I want to go inside because it's cold out here. Okay, it has been a bit, maybe 2 weeks. Yeah, a lot's been going on. I got back from my Broken Hill servicing run Friday, went into work and then immediately got put back to work, fixing like fucking 5 dead welders, so that's alright, we got it done. So that's the backlog done for that, and I drive off to do my Tamworth run starting in Coonabarabran Monday. So that'll be servicing 9 TAFEs in 5 days. It's going to be pretty full on, but that'll be the end of it. So I haven't done fucking anything to nothing. I moved that just then so I can mow under it. I did pick up that parts car. I did not film any of it. We were pretty well under the pump. Have been for a bit. My mum's been in hospital coming up on a month. She's got dementia and now stage 3 tongue cancer. So we've been dealing with that. Dad's been pretty stressed out. So I went up there the weekend to say g'day to Mum while she's in the hospital, which was fucking horrible, but that's the way it goes. You don't expect to see your parents in hospital. And so I had a day to pick up the parts car and get it to my mate's house. I'll see if I can find some footage. I took it for a blat through his rock garden because the body's fucked on it, so I don't care about any of the panel work. I'm pretty much buying it for interior for this. A set of diff ratios for my brother's ute because, unfortunately, we were hoping it was a diesel, it's a petrol. So, what do you do? And I wanted a passenger side guard. The guards are rooted on it. But it's got a good set of headlight rings in it. It's got a grille that's pretty banged up. Mainly the top part of the grille here is all folded in. But this one's got a good top and bottom piece, but the mesh is buggered. The mesh is rolled up. So if you have a look, the mesh actually bolts in. So I'll pull the mesh out of that F25 and put it in this. I've got Sarge's old headlight ring and headlight bucket, so that'll go in it now to make it look pretty. Can you still see the shine on that bonnet? Oof. Yeah, it's been sitting out in the right where I left it, right there. It's been sitting there for like 2 weeks. It hasn't been played with at all. So the paint's going to come up really good. Dad's like chomping at the bit to get this thing up to the extent now we're talking about keeping it 4-speed because I don't have a 5-speed rear tail shaft, and well, I've got a 4-speed ute rear tail shaft, which I could cut down, but Dad's like, no, I just want it. So it's going to stay 4-speed, so I've got to put a handbrake assembly on the back of the gearbox because that's all missing, but I've got a couple laying around and there's one in that parts car. It's also a lowish K car. It was a tub back. The tub rotted off it. So worst comes to worst, all the scat boxes are the same. You just got to change the bell housing and input shaft, other than early F10. So that early F10 box is completely different. But yeah, the rest of them, I've got a loose one here somewhere. Going here somewhere. Bell housing's over there. What do we got? There we go. So that's a Rocky 5-speed box there, and then that is a Scat 4-speed. So yeah, you just, I'll move that DL engine plate, go and do your bell housing, and then you just pop that input shaft out. That's where it connects there, and there's a needle roller bearing on the inside. So yeah, you just swap them out because there's 2 different length shafts, and that's it. So I can either pull the whole box out of that F25 and put the diesel bell housing and shit on it, or I can put a handbrake on that. Now, I don't know the condition of that. This has less Ks than the F25, but the F25 has sub 100, so it's probably going to be pretty good. It did get thrashed in the bush though, I hear. And now they're playing with the engine. So we're just going to put my dad's truck's Percy's original motor in it, but he's now had a change of heart, being that this is such a low K vehicle and its numbers matching currently. He wants me to rebuild the 2.5 that's in it. It needs a set of sleeves because they're scored and they're pretty glazed. Like, I could dingle ball them back to life, but dingle ball and throw a new set of rings at it and get it running. The head actually looks really good. It's sitting on my barbecue around here. The valves are all out of it. I don't know if I've got all the valves. I'll have to find valves probably. The head's good. The pre-comps aren't cracked or anything silly. Come here, big girl. Get around. There we go. Just needs a good deck, but normally they crack the pre-comps just like a TD or a 2H. They crack pre-comp chambers and they fall into the cylinder. It's just what these will do. So now the plan with this is to rebuild it, but I've got a loose 2.8 crank rods and pistons out of that parts block that I was going to use to rebuild one of the 2.8s I've got here that my brother spun a rod bearing on. So Dad now wants me to build that 2.5 numbers matching as a 2.8. So it'll be 2.8 4-speed, but it'll be numbers matching to the car because he's really liking that idea. So that means engine out, engine out on the stand, crank rods, pistons out. But I had to do that either way to the other two 2.8s I had here. So, because I've got one that's only his engine we were thinking of putting in it. It only killed a cam. So I've got the cam. So there's 2 engines, 2 boxes in here. So I've got the cam and the buckets out of that parts motor. But it also was a bit fumey, so it could probably do with either re-ringing, possibly reboring, or another set of sleeves. So the amount of work I've got to put into that, I've pretty much got to put into this 2.5 anyway. And then if I do it to the 2.5, it's numbers matching and it'll keep him happy. So that's the plan. I've now got to acquire ring sleeves, fully finished sleeves for that are like $200. That's nothing major. I've got the 2.8 pistons, rods, everything sitting on the bench. We're just going to down and dirty it. So what I mean by that is, if the rod bearings, cam bearings, crank main bearings look good, they're going back in it. It's going to get 2.8'd and a set of sleeves, and we'll put it back together and call it a day. So that's pretty rad. But plan for today is to finish this video off, because it's been going on. It's taking up space on my laptop and my phone and my big camera, and fuck. Plus, it's been a while since you've seen this gorgeous moustache. Plan for today is to make it look pretty. So we're going to slap the grill in it, we're going to put the headlight ring around it and the headlight in the other side. And because I'm a fucking wheel whore, and so is my dad and my brother, I've got wheels everywhere. So he's thinking of doing what we done with my brother's ute originally, which is use the original wheels but then throw like a 32, 33 inch cheese cutter on it. So I'm going to dig out my 33 and then the one tyre that I have that holds air for the little F10 out the front with the Land Cruiser 7.5-16 on it, so a 32.5. And we're going to throw them on this because it's got 2 tyres that don't hold air anyway. And we'll have a bit of a ruminate, a bit of a vibe check. We'll see. It will clear 33 stock height. The springs are still good in it because it's done fuck all Ks. Well, you can see it'll clear 33s on stock height because Sarge is right there. And it's on 33s and it's stock height. It's actually sagged in the front, where that one's the springs have actually got arch. These springs are flat because I've used it a fair bit off road. See, they're flat as fuck. So yeah, so 33s would clear, but he's pondering about doing 33s. He's already got 33s on his Rocky, and the ratio's a little funny in the Rocky. And then this then being a 4-speed as well, he's thinking of staying around the 32 mark. He wants that sort of farmer vibe, like it come fresh off an apple farm, which it technically did. Anyway, we'll I'll pop proppers over on the garbage bins over there, and we'll start jamming a couple of Ritz and Poises into this rig. So the threads for the headlight rings was stripped. This driver's side one only had one bolt in it, so I've gone through and I've retapped them to N5. So I can use these pretty stainless button heads I've got. Nice. So we're going to chuck them on now. Nicer looking side out. So that side gives the grill will cover that rust. So I haven't done the bottom yet because I've got to take the ball bar off to get to it so I can actually tap it. But I do want to pull the bar off it anyway and see if I can straighten it, because this is a factory Daihatsu bar. Australia only, I believe, though. Oof, good thing. So, yeah, I actually had one of these on my first car way back in the day. I can't remember if mine was the centre hoop was higher. They had a couple of companies make these in Australia for them. So there's a couple of different versions. Like the one I had didn't have this gay bar down the bottom of it. That's going if I can straighten it. But I remember I got it from All Model Rack in Reevesby for $200. I got it off an ex-security F20 wagon. I was still on the L's. I pestered Mum to go out there, and we took my F10 out there, which was a fucking wild ride on the highway, I can tell you. Mum was like, "No, we'll take the patrol, we'll do this, like, you got nowhere to put it," and I'm like, "Nah, it's all good, Mum, we'll sort it out." So I bought it, and I fitted it in the car park because I couldn't fit it in the back of the truck. The F10 just had this stock little bumper on it. So I bolted the bull bar onto the car park. Old mate, the owner of All Model Rack was just laughing at me. I'm like, "What? I've got tools?" Yeah, it was a bit of a giggle from back in the days. Farming around, going out to Penrith on the M7 when it first opened. To 4-drive one, because I needed a Rancho multi-fit steering dampener. Because with the 31s I put on it, she was a bit floaty. So we drove it all the way out there too. Mum was hating life, I'm sure, but I'll let you go. The grill centre is fucked, but we'll put it in it for now because I want to dig it. I want to get the vibe. Might flip those rings around. I thought the grill was going to cover that rust spot, but it's not. So put it on this side, so when the bonnet's down, the bonnet will cover it. Oh, I'll just grab those two off that F20. Oh, there's no bonnet shut. There we go. That's that farm car life right there. Just got to get a decent passenger side guard. Or fix this one. But trying to repair that and keep it flat, there's already got a ding right there, might be a bit difficult, so we'll see if I can just get another one. There was a couple of parts cars recently, but they've all just dropped off the face of the earth, so I got to do a bit of messaging, because there was one up in Newcastle. Old mate said all parts available minus, it was a F65, so he goes all parts available minus driveline. I was planning to grab a whole fistful of bits out of that, but it's not on the buy swap sell page or on the Daihatsu page anymore. I've got his ad saved though, so I can message him. Anyway, let's get the jack out. I'm going to jack this whore up, go in the shed, wheel out a couple of wheels, and we'll see what it looks like on some flat tyres. And I mean fat with 2 F's. Or PH, yeah, fat. Alright, I'm thinking we might try the True 33 first to see what sort of clearance we've got on the nose. Look at that, eh? Archaic piece of technology. Drums on the front. Fucking hell. That's the other thing. I've got to find the disc brake conversion kit for this fucking thing too. Oh well, that's part of it. So this is 285/75. You can see the bell on the tyre, which looks sick. But Dad wants that more old school vibe, so we could go to a 225/65, I think they are. And it's a 33, but it's a 10.5. So we could potentially do that, go that route. Well, he doesn't want to tear his front end up, so I'm going to say no to the 33s, not without a lift kit. Is it just because it's jacked up and it's flexing it? Maybe, but whatever, we'll put the 750 on. We'll put the tree at the back. The Dunlop Road Gripper. He wants to keep it looking roughly stock, so I don't forget the crow's feet and a 750, because these were originally 650, and I forgot, never sees them studs. 650 is a 27.5 or a 28, depending on who makes them. So going from that up to a 32. Yeah. These hubs will be coming off to do the disc brake conversion. But I don't think it'll be the last time I'll be pulling tyres off this thing, so we'll just never seize it anyway. Oof, there we go, that's looking pretty good. What did I do with the rattle gun? There it is. Okay, let's dig the view. Okay, that's looking good. That's looking good. I like it. I like it. Look at the height difference there. And that's fully pumped up, but yeah, it is. It's sort of flexed a little bit at the moment because of the tyre size difference, so it will gain more clearance. So we could potentially run 33s under the nose, but Dad was pretty keen on these, so jam that on the back, or I could put it on the other side, on the front. On the front, might make it hard to push around though. So don't have another one of them that holds fucking air. Otherwise I just put them all around. The only other one that I've got loose that isn't a 35 or a 34 is that Jim Bob there. Fuck, we'll put it on the front, get that diff square, and we'll check clearance. And then I'll probably just jack it back up and put it on the back. What is it? Alright, I've got both wheels on, I've got the bar off so I can fuck around with it. It's a fair bit of straightening, but I should be able to save it. Probably. I'll no doubt have to change these two tubes out and probably that one. The rest of them don't look too bad. Yeah, There we go, there's the truck. So you can sort of, where are we? So try and get this camera level of the car. Yeah, so I know which way I'd lean. That way, that one. But Dad will be keen on that one. Just because he doesn't like shit scrubbing. So, but there is still a fair bit of room there. It's not like it's going to eat. Probably whack the bar, but we could tune the bar. I've already slash cut my brothers. Like, you just cut a 45 down here, well, not 45, just corner to corner, and then you just trim out the bottom section out where the tyre goes. But he wants that farmer look, so he'll probably go with that, which looks cool too. I'm not gonna knock it. I'll screw that wheel up the back there, because with the bar off it, having the 33 on the front's not really going to give me any issues pushing it around. There, like, Jesus, just inside the flare lip. Fuck, it looks tight. Looks fucking tighter than tight. But that'll do her for now. Yep, we'll just have to get the mesh out of that other rig. Nothing too major. She'll be all back together, but fuck, she's all looking tidy. Oh, fucking check this out. I was digging around and I found the radio blanket. Fuck yeah. Super rare. Everyone fucking drills holes in them when they try to. Someone's thrown this one away. That's actually out of the parts car. So they've egged the holes a little bit in the dash where the radio goes to try and put a different radio in it. Like I said before, it's just Daihatsu specific radio. Like, it's a very small pocket it can fit in, so it's not very deep, but it's very wide. The buttons are in the standard position. But yeah, it's wider than a standard AM radio because the heater box is there with the heater motor, or the fan motor, so it can't go back very far. It can only go back about 3 inches. So they're wider than normal. So you need a Daihatsu only radio, unless you want to fuck with it to make something else happen. The part chute's got a Land Cruiser radio in it, but the heater box isn't bolted in properly. So they put the radio in it and then just drop the heater box on the ground. Righto, I think that'll do it for this video. Got to get it out. You guys probably haven't seen this glorious moustache all that much, so we've got to keep you up to date, boys. Got to keep you up to date. So, I know she's a bit fucking all over the place, but she's been a bit all over the place in these last fucking couple of weeks, I can tell you, and it ain't going to get any better soon. So, I don't know when I'll have another video. I'm fucking flat out at the moment, and it's only going to get flatter out. So, anywho, we'll catch us later. Doing something, whether it be my trucks. I've got a couple of diff centers to build as well, or 4 diff centers to build. I might video them, probably not. Got to pull the box out of the Fairlane, build it again. So it could be anything. Literally could be anything. I could be pulling the motor out of the thing, but before I play with Dad's truck, I want the Fairlane done and back out the front so I can drive it again. And then it can come in here and I can pull the motor out. Well, I'm fucking waffling on again. Tried to shoot this outro like 3 times, and I keep going on about stuff and things. You know the deal. Anyway, you guys hit the tracks. They don't hit back. Hit the rubber side down, and we'll catch us on the next one. Right.